Here's an unconventional way of making a chocolate mousse. The classic French recipe is based on raw eggs. My eggs are fully cooked here, and I actually think I prefer the taste and texture to the classic. My version is also more stable. You can make these days in advance and just pull them out of the fridge. It's a perfect dinner party dessert and pretty quick to make. Get a little pot and crumble in a 4-ounce, 113-gram chocolate bar, as dark as you want it. Remember, it's going to be diluted with cream and eggs, so I would say start with chocolate that's pretty dark. Then just turn the heat on low and start it melting. Grab a couple eggs and crack them into a good-sized mixing bowl, taking care to not puncture the yolks. Reach in, fish the yolks back out again, separating them from the white and dropping them into some temporary holding place. Remember that chocolate is usually melted before it looks all the way melted. You won't know until you stir. We don't want to let this burn or seize. We just want nice, smooth, gently melted chocolate. Heat is still pretty low, and now I'll whisk in my egg yolks. Once they're mixed in with the chocolate, they are somewhat safe from curdling, but we need to loosen this up to make it stirrable, so I'm going to pour in some leftover coffee from this morning, but you could use any watery liquid. Orange juice would be awesome, brandy, or milk or plain water. Just enough liquid to loosen this up so that you can whisk it smooth while the egg cooks a little, which shouldn't take long. When you see the egg thicken up a little bit, you're good. If you're not sure, just stop stirring for a sec and see if the mixture bubbles a little. If it does, it is hot enough. I'm using very dark chocolate and black coffee, so I'm going to boost this with a couple teaspoons of sugar, but that's to your taste. Whisk that in, let it dissolve. Now I'll just scrape this chocolate base out into a bowl here where it can cool down before we mix it with everything else. I'll throw the pot in the sink and let it soak because we'll need it again. Into a smaller mixing bowl, I'll drop 2/3 of a cup of cream, 160 mils or thereabouts, and I'll whip that up. Yes, this is a dessert, so it's lots of calories, but it's an extremely fluffy dessert, so much of the finished volume will be non-caloric air. Besides, I have no problem eating an occasional dessert, even though I am watching what I eat these days with the help of Noom, the sponsor of this video. Noom leverages the power of human coaches and cognitive behavior therapy to help you learn the way your mind works and achieve your goals.
If you miss 3 weigh-ins in a row, this should be a red flag that there's something deeper going on.
My goals are really just to hold my weight steady, which it has at about 200 pounds, but I've been hitting the barbells real hard and I've gotten a lot stronger, so my body is recomping. That takes food, and Noom knows this. They don't pressure me to eat nothing. They just prompt me to record my food, watch my macros, and eat more mindfully. What goals can Noom help you achieve? Take a free 30-second quiz right now at noom.com/Ragusia. Use my link in the description to take your quiz and help Noom help you to master your mind and do what you want to do. Thank you, Noom. Anyway, stop whipping the cream before you over-whip it into butter. Now is a convenient time to work in a little vanilla, or a lot, just mix that in. Now we need to whip the eggs, so first we gotta wash these beaters. Even a little fat absolutely does weaken egg foams. That's not a myth. I proved that to you in Monday's vid, linked in the description. I'll also wash that pot, and while I'm here, get a little fresh water in there. Doesn't have to be a precise amount because we're gonna boil it back out again. It's just there to dissolve this 1/3 of a cup granulated sugar, about 70 grams. With that, I'll put a glug of corn syrup or any other invert sugar. That'll keep the table sugar from recrystallizing and seizing as we get this boiling with high heat. While we wait, I'll drop a little pinch of cream of tartar into the egg whites and start whipping. The cream of tartar will stabilize the foam. A couple of drops of lemon juice or vinegar would do the same. This should only take like 2 minutes. Beat to pretty firm peaks. Those look good. I'll pool the syrup to one side so I can more easily take its temperature, looking for 240 Fahrenheit, 116 Celsius. It'll just be starting to go golden at the target temperature. Safely but swiftly, I'll beat that into my egg whites. Drizzle a little in, beat it for a second, repeat until it's all in. You can just dump it all in at once and beat, but there's a risk that you'd fling syrup onto the side of the bowl where it would immediately cool and harden into crunchy little beads. At this point, the bowl should feel hot, and you should smell the eggs cooking. Eventually, it'll start looking glossy, like marshmallow fluff, which is exactly what this is, aka Italian meringue. I love the stuff. It's fully cooked, and it's super stable. It'll take days to collapse. The meringue is done now, but I want to keep beating it for a few more minutes just to cool it down. I don't want it to be so hot that it instantly melts my cream. When it feels lukewarm on my finger, I'm good to beat in my chocolate mixture. You don't have to gently fold this in thin. The Italian meringue can handle at least a little hard mixing before it deflates too much. The chocolate is dispersed smoothly, now time for whipped cream. This I will also beat for just a second, but you do have to be careful about deflating whipped cream. Just a second of beating, and then I'll scrape down the bowl and finish the job with some gentle folding. This is the finished product. It's not going to bake in the oven or anything, so if you see lumps, now is your only chance to stir them out. Looks pretty great, but if it doesn't look like chocolate mousse to you, that's because it needs to chill thoroughly. Booze glasses of all kinds are perfect for this. The only trick is you want to drizzle in the mousse without getting the rim of the glass dirty, because it can be kind of hard to wipe clean without leaving a smudge. We've got at least 4 generous dessert portions here, but some of these I'm going to underfill for reasons. If you want to smooth off the surface, you can just swish the glass around a little. Doing this in a brandy snifter makes everything seem way classier than it is. Chill for at least a couple hours or ideally overnight. Plenty of time for me to do it all again with a white chocolate bar. I'm not a huge white chocolate fan, but this is really good. Another quarter-pound 113 bar, get it melting gently. Eggs into a mixing bowl, fish out the yolks and reserve. As soon as the chocolate melts smooth, I'll whisk in my egg yolks. When it looks too goopy to whisk, I'll loosen it up with like a quarter cup of some watery liquid. This time I am using amaretto, almond-flavored liqueur. Incredible flavor with chocolate, but again, you could use all kinds of things, enough to make this whiskable. Now I'll whisk until I see the yolks just barely start to cook and thicken up. If it doesn't happen, you can turn the heat up a little bit, but be conservative. All of a sudden, you'll see those egg proteins start to coagulate, and then I'm done, at the first sign of thickening. You'll note this is pretty thin compared to our first one. That's because it has no cocoa solids. Pour that somewhere it can cool. No table sugar in the yolk mixture this time because white chocolate is super sweet and the amaretto is sweet. 2/3 of a cup of cream, 160 mils, beat. It always looks like nothing is happening until suddenly it happens. That took 4 minutes. Stir in some vanilla just to put it somewhere where it won't get too hot and evaporate, and also where I won't forget about it. Wash the beaters, wash the pot, grab a little water, roughly equivalent to the 1/3 of a cup of sugar we'll put in, 65 to 70 grams, plus a squeeze of syrup to prevent crystallization, high heat while we wait, dash of cream of tartar with the egg whites, beat until we get pretty firm peaks, 2 minutes max. Heat the syrup to 240 Fahrenheit, 116 C, and be very careful when you whip it in. Hot syrup will burn very badly if you splash it onto your skin. The syrup cooks the egg whites. Keep whipping for a few minutes until they're not super hot anymore, just lukewarm. Beat in the chocolate mixture until reasonably smooth. Drop in the whipped cream and only beat for a second. Scrape the bowl down and finish the job with a spatula, gentle folding until smooth. I'm not a white chocolate fan, but with the amaretto, I think this is even nicer than my dark chocolate mousse. Speaking of which, it's now had a chance to firm up while I made my second flavor, which means I can pour a second layer into the underfilled glasses, and the first layer will hold firm. Got a nice clean line between the two strata. Now we've got enough dessert for like 8 people, and again, it can just chill for a day or 2 until it's time to eat. You should have just enough cream left over in the carton to whip up if you want a nice garnish. I'd only do that for the all dark chocolate version. These layered babies look great as is, or you could try shaving on a little chocolate for garnish. Don't ask me how you avoid getting chocolate on the counter. I do not know. Boy, that is real nice, and I do love that you get to arrange different combinations of the 2 flavors on the spoon. Heterogeneity. You can see that we've got a nice fine bubble structure. Maybe it's a bit more dense than the classic made with raw egg foam, but I like the slightly heavier mouthfeel. It's like fancy pudding with the coffee and the amaretto coming together. But again, that splash of liquid with the melting chocolate is a place where you can be creative and put in lots of different flavors. Try orange juice. Just because I'm weird and I don't like fruit flavors combined with chocolate doesn't mean you have to miss out.